It's Wednesday, the 12th of October, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. The first story is a big one. We've got actually bundled quite a bit into it. Consumer confidence is at its lowest level in 10 years. Business confidence is buoyant. There are signs that inflationary pressures in the economy are easing, and credit and debit card data suggests that households might just be reining in their spending. That is a lot in just 24 hours.
Yeah, sure is. Let's start with consumer confidence. Fell back this month, and whilst off its August lows, it's still deeply in negative territory. It was at this level in about 2009, but before that, it hasn't been at this level since the early 1990s when the economy was in recession. All about interest rates. People don't feel good when interest rates are rising. Opposite story for business. Business conditions improved further last month. They're back above pre-COVID levels, according to National Australia Bank Business Confidence Index. It's pulled back just a touch, though it still remains around long-term averages. Now, if you look at where interest rates are starting to be felt, you'll see it in the homes around Australia. The Commonwealth Bank said household spending declined in September for the first time since rates started rising back in May. Yesterday, it released the CommBank's Household Spending Intentions Index for the month. That was down as well. All these pastoral indicators from the banks, which have plenty of data on what's being spent on credit and debit cards, have added a whole new dimension to reading the economy because it's real-time data. What's all this mean? It's kind of good news. We get so caught up with falling financial markets, we sometimes forget that the real economy, what's happening on the street, is actually doing okay. Consumers are glum, but they're still spending. Businesses are pretty happy. If the Reserve Bank can keep inflation under control, things aren't looking too bad for the domestic economy.
Sean, on to story number 2, and Telstra held its annual general meeting yesterday for its more than 1 million shareholders. That is a big meeting. And Chair John Mullen stuck up for the group's main competitor.
Not surprisingly, the meeting was both in person and virtual. Couldn't get 1 million people otherwise. Mr. Mullen wasn't about to criticise Optus for the data breach of a couple of weeks ago and instead urged companies to avoid complacency when it comes to protecting customer data. He said everyone should avoid hubris in this situation because no organisation can ever be 100% fully protected. Now, the chair, who's stepping down next year, ran the meeting. It was also the first for the new CEO, Vicky Brady, very much focused on the completion of Telstra's T22 strategy, its plans to expand its regional network and 5G capacity, and a proposed corporate restructure.
Okay, on to story number 3, and it's kind of linked to story number 2, actually. Someone who wasn't holding back when it comes to Optus. The ACCC chair yesterday blasted the telco, saying that the company's lack of transparency over its massive data breach is making customers confused and anxious.
Gina Cass-Gottlieb said Optus isn't providing customers with clear information about the breach. Appearing before a House of Representatives committee yesterday, she said reports of scams are spiking as criminals attempt to use the data to cheat individuals. Now, the bulk of the information that affected nearly 10 million Optus customers hasn't yet appeared on the dark web, but more than 10,000 names have. Ms. Cass-Gottlieb said there's been a small number of losses to remote access scams where the scammer said they were from Optus. Meanwhile, Michael, the Office of the Australian Information Commission will investigate whether Optus handled consumer data in line with Australian privacy principles. Any single contravention, just one contravention, could cost a telco giant up to $2.2 million in fines.
That is huge. Story number 4, Sean. Second-hand car prices are falling fast now after spending much of the COVID years on the rise.
Yeah, look, it was an unusual anomaly in the market that because supply chains were severely disrupted during COVID, people couldn't get new cars delivered. Also, there was a global shortage of semiconductor chips and many cars just weren't getting built, really. So the price of used cars soared. According to Moody's Analytics, the used car prices are still 15% higher than a year ago and more than 60% higher than pre-pandemic, but they're coming off and have fallen for 4 months in a row. According to the Financial Review, the biggest driver of downward pressure on car prices is, of course, the increase in supply of new vehicles.
Makes sense. All right, last story. Story number 5. Japan has started accepting vaccinated visitors from 68 countries, including Australia, ending 3 years of tight border controls.
I think a lot of Australian skiers will be very excited by this story, and given the yen is so weak, at least against the US dollar, and inflation is relatively low, Japan is an affordable and attractive destination for overseas visitors. Japan is one of the last major economies to reopen for tourism. So far, around 4,000 Tourism-related companies have folded due to restrictions. The announcement sent Japan's airline stocks higher, not surprising, and online searches for holidays in Japan have surged. There you go.
All right, that's it. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Wednesday, the 12th of October, 2022. Remember to hit follow and don't forget to check out our new podcast, How Do They Afford That? Featuring Canna Campbell, the founder of Sugar Mama TV, all about making your money work a bit harder for you. There is a new episode out today, What to Do When You're a Saver But Your Partner's a Spender. It is a great chat. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.